So, Bradley J., having just gotten back from London, I have some exciting news, Brad. You're looking at someone, Brad, that now has a UK bank account, Brad Geiger.
A UK bank account.
Why? Oh, isn't this exciting?
I've already got so many questions. Why did you have to set up a UK bank account?
Brad, the gummy mint is after me. No, I'm just kidding. No, because I think I've mentioned this on the show. My wife and I are thinking about moving back to London in the years ahead. Not immediately, in the years ahead. And so it's something I want people to think of like more in the 4 to 5 year range, not the immediate range, right? But we've been looking at neighborhoods like we did on this trip. We looked at 4 houses in this trip. We are thinking about, well, do we live in this part of London? Do we that? Because we haven't lived there in 30 years, so we're trying to reacquaint ourselves with the city. And part of it is I'm sort of planning for the third act of my life when the kids are out of the house, like either in college or out of college. And how do I not walk past the same empty bedrooms crying? And I'm like, well, you know what? One of the most energetic and exciting times of my life was in my 20s when I lived and worked in England, and I would like to move back. And so, you know, it's relatively easy to move to a country as a student because all sorts of countries have student visas, student this, student that. But moving as a functioning adult to another country, not so easy, Brad. Not quite as easy, especially as everybody's immigration is clanking down. And so step 1 of a 48,000-step process to moving to England is opening a bank account, Brad. Opening a bank account.
Now I get it. Yeah.
So I walk into a bank branch in the UK and I said, hey, I don't have an appointment, but I've got all my paperwork here. Can I open an account? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, you can. And I was like, great. And so we sit down to do the process, and they're like, wait a minute. Are you Dave Kellett of 48 Tyler Court, Rutherford Square, Canterbury, England?
Oh, my God.
I said, well, I was 30 years ago. And they said, did you ever have an account with this bank? And I said, I don't remember having an account with this bank. And they said, is this your signature? And they pulled up a digital scan of a signature. And by God, Brad, it was my signature from 30 years ago. So I had an account at this bank. And so they're like, well, you know what we can do? We can just resuscitate this old account and like bring it back to life.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, great. Did I have any money in it? And they said, no, you left it with a negative 10 balance.
Yeah, but I mean, look at it this way. If they would have said, hey, for £10, we're going to make this whole process way easier, you would have paid 20.
Yes, because, and this is sort of weird, and Americans won't recognize this, but because I had established the account when I was a student, I also got a national insurance number and a national health, a national health service number tied to the bank account number. Anyway, long story short, it made a whole bunch of things easier that I forgot that I had already a UK business. But also, Brad, isn't it weird that all my information and my signature has been floating on a database for 30 years?
For 30 years, just waiting for you to get to this idea in your head that you wanted to come back to the UK.
Yeah, but so anyway, so I'm super thankful that worked out great because it would have required a lot more paperwork, which I was willing to do. But instead of being a 90-minute bank meeting, it was like a 35-minute bank meeting. And Brad, now I have a bank account in the UK.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to ask to borrow money in pounds instead of dollars this time. This is going to be wonderful.
The friendship can find whole new ways to be ruined, Brad. Whole new ways to be ruined. And on that note, I say hello, everybody, and welcome to Comic Lab, the show about making comics in other countries.
And making a living from comics, whether it's dollars or pounds. And I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his friend Dave Kellett, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of Stripped.
And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. And we have a huge show for everybody because this is our big year-ender show.
Yeah.
Where Brad and I look back to January and talk about and we review our predictions and personal goals for cartooning and our own careers in 2025. And Brad, I got to tell you, One of our main goals that we got into over the year was basically like, just keep cartooning. And thankfully, we're still here, Brad. We're still kicking.
Yeah, our first goal was to survive, and we did. Which is fantastic. I'm taking that as a win.
Yeah, we're still here, and we're
off.
still doing Comic Lab, and we're still kicking. And we have bank accounts in multiple countries, Brad. So things are looking up. And gang, in case you were wondering whether my anxiety about 2025 is related to me opening a bank account in the UK, the answer is yes.
Yes,
the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Papa is figuring out backup options is what Papa's doing. Yeah. So anyway, so let me get into my first prediction for 2025 because I think this will be the triggering for a lot of our discussion on this show, which is in January, I said my big prediction was that business planning for cartoonists is going to be filled with a lot of anxiety. Trump will be a chaos agent coming into the year. That was my first prediction, Brad, and I'm going to go on record and say I think I was right about that one.
Yeah, that was an accurate statement. That was absolutely true. And we had a lot of misgivings about tariffs and where they stood, and we were assured that books were not going to be covered by tariffs. And I heard that, and you heard that. And I'll be honest, I can't speak for you, but I was very much taking a I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. And I purposefully dragged my feet because and watched very closely and listened because I was waiting for other people to say, hey, they told me the tariffs weren't going to apply to my book run, and they socked me with something. So I waited, I dragged my feet, and when I didn't hear other people who were doing Kickstarters, when I didn't hear them screaming to the rafters, even then, I figured out what that tariff hit would be, and I factored that into my Kickstarter because I still didn't believe it.
Yes, absolutely. Because even though everyone and their brother told Brad and I, listen, books are covered under entirely different international treaties of commerce. Yeah. And so it's okay. No matter what tariffs are going to be put on, books are okay. And we're like, yeah, we're going to wait and see, champ. Yeah. Because it was also a year where rock solid things like NATO or U.S., Canadian, Mexican tariff treaties were thrown to the wind. And you're like, I don't know what to rely on here. Like, their books are ostensibly guaranteed by international treaty as being exempt from a lot of tariffs, but I don't know. I'm going to wait and see what Random House says in 2 months when their books start hitting the ports. And sure enough, I think, Brad, did my book hit first? And I remember texting you because I was like, Brad, I just cleared it through customs. Yeah. Brad. Yeah. It's like I didn't get a tariff.
No, it definitely was yours because mine are being shipped this week. So I still don't 100% know that I'm not going to get hit with the surprise. But, at this point, I feel relatively calm about the whole progress. Right. But not at the beginning of the year for sure. And even taking tariffs off the table and putting it off to the side, there was a lot of general free-floating anxiety this year that all of us had to deal with, whether it was business related or related to ancillary things. There was just a lot of anxiety this year.
And even if Brad and I weren't immediately hit with certain anxieties, people that we loved and that their well-being triggers our creativity or lack of creativity, or, Brad, in terms of the health of our process, those people that we loved were threatened directly. Right. And so that had an absolutely trigger or, knock-on effect to our own creative work.
Yeah.
And also of cartoonists that I love. So you look around at your friends and peers and you're like, I'm nervous about XYZ. And you're like, well, now I'm nervous about XYZ. That's triggering my own creativity and my own joy and sense of well-being. So yeah, it was not a happy year for me in a lot of respects. And so, hence the UK bank account. And so, but we pulled through it. And part of it, I think, is because of Brad's first prediction.
Boy, yeah, this has been absolutely fascinating to me because my first prediction was because of Dave's prediction, because we both predicted a lot of chaos in 2025, I said the winners will be people who help address that anxiety that we're all feeling. And obviously, that's people like us. That's cartoonists, other entertainment people who are entertainment ancillary or adjacent, even like us. And my suggestion was to be the distraction or the escape that people need, and they won't forget you. And I got to tell you,
right.
In 2025, I leaned in on that really hard. In other words, that's about the same time, and I think we'll talk about this a little bit later. I can't remember or not. It might have been one of my goals. But I talked about this was a year that I was going to start using a social media scheduler as well.
Yep.
And so I did a whole bunch of iterations on a theme of basically the world out there is terrible. Evil Inc. is a great way to get just a little 5-minute slice of happiness and forget about the outside world. And this is a great way to take a little pause. For your own happiness. And I iterated on that theme dozens of times, found a bunch of different ways to say it. And that became my outward messaging for 2025 was a lot of that. There was a couple other notes that I was hitting in my social media messaging, but the main one, the main message was, I'm going to help you forget what's going on out there for a little while.
Right.
And I'm going to keep landing in your inbox and giving you little happy little reasons to tune out for a little bit, catch your breath, and then go back in. That was the messaging that I was doing.
I think, yes. And first of all, as a reader, I want to thank you because there were definitely moments of joy that you brought me this year. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that.
I didn't realize it until you just explicitly said it right now, that maybe the reason why I leaned in so heavily on dog jokes this year was because nothing is more further removed from the political or socioeconomic or cultural problems of the day than just a dog peeing on a tree. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's the most, like for people that love pets, it's the most shared, universal baseline joy of pet ownership kind of humor.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that maybe I was doing that because of what you just said. Maybe that was why I fell into it this year.
There's something that's very contagious about the happiness of a dog.
Yes,
even like a golden retriever or that kind of characterization. You hear people say, "Oh yeah, she's a real golden retriever type of person," and you know what that means, and you know what a tail wagging means, and you know all these things. It's a very universal thing, even for somebody like me who never had pets, don't want pets. I can still appreciate that and smile. And I've enjoyed your dog comics as much as anybody else because it's got a universal happiness to it.
Well, and you know how therapists would always tell you in moments of anxiety that you should ask yourself, what is true for me right now? What is the truth for me right now? Am I safe right now? Am I in this moment right now? Like if you're worried about the Sudan and they're like, is it necessarily threatening you right now? And does your anxiety need to be, or do you need to be swimming in anxiety right now? When you're looking at a dog is so in the now. You know what I mean?
Right.
The only concern they have is the noises around them, the smells around them. Like, are you with them? Great, then they're happy. And that to me is a very, it's a very humanizing, grounding thing, dog humor. So I think Brad's first prediction for the year about the winners of 2025 will be the cartoonists and businesses that help people deal with their anxiety has been super true, Brad. I think your prediction has been great. And because I found myself going towards cartoonists that gave me a moment of respite. Respite or respite? What is it?
Respite. I would say respite. Yeah.
Doesn't respite kind of sound like a cowboy that's saying he did spit and then he's spitting again?
He respite.
He respite.
He respite right into the
I had to respite on account I got more sputum in my throat, so I got some respite. I spitted and then I respited. Anyway, my second prediction for 2025 was concerning Bluesky.
Yeah.
So folks will remember at the turn of the year, Brad and I were really sparking on Bluesky and have been continuously sparking on Bluesky because it has a echo of classic Twitter and the effectiveness of classic Twitter with a lot less of the white nationalism that we've all come to find on Twitter.
Yeah.
So anyway, my big prediction at the beginning of 2025 was that at that time, Bluesky was at 23 million users. And I said that by the end of the year, Bluesky would be at 50 million users, basically more than doubling its user base. And I looked it up this morning as we were starting, Brad.
Yeah.
And we're right around 41 million users.
Oh,
so my prediction did not land. But I'll be honest, I'm real happy with 41 million users on Bluesky.
Yep. That's super close. And it's worth noting that Bluesky has kind of gone way further than any of us expected it to go. I think it's become the clear winner of the social media wars that broke out in like 2024
you mean
and
with
so
Threads
forth,
and that kind of thing?
where it was Threads and Mastodon and Bluesky and a bunch of others that were, trying to take advantage of how badly Twitter had shot itself in the foot and addressing all of the problems that we all knew were there with Instagram and Facebook in terms of creative people actually using it to do what we need to do social media to do. Bluesky was it was not the odds-on favorite in the beginning.
No.
Threads was.
Threads
absolutely.
Was the
absolute odds-on favorite. And it just never took. Whereas Bluesky very much kind of took over the reins, and to the extent that, again, neither you nor I in our Kickstarters used Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram in any of our outward messaging, and we all had really good Kickstarters. I didn't miss it a bit. I didn't doubt that decision. I had a great Kickstarter. You had great Kickstarters. And we did not need those legacy social media platforms.
Didn't need them. And even though I don't have our numbers in front of me at the moment, I know emotionally my reaction was, the return on investment for the time spent on Bluesky has been worth it, which I will be honest, gang, was not something that I had felt for the last 5 years on Twitter or Instagram that I was using it. So even at remarkably smaller user-based numbers from what Twitter has and Instagram has, I was getting results and I was like, this is great. I'm happy with this. I like this return on investment for the time that I've spent, especially in conjunction with Brad's buffer.com suggestion of using Bluesky. And so I will say this, though, and I think Brad will concur. In the last, 6 months or so, I have seen the number of bots that are appearing on Bluesky to be higher. They have not yet, because of the basic construction of Bluesky, they have not yet impacted my enjoyment of the network because I don't see them. Bluesky has wonderful, multifaceted ways of limiting what you see and what kind of accounts you see and who gets to come across your transom. But I will say that my followers have had more and more weird bot accounts suddenly appearing,
Yeah. And they're so easy to spot. I mean, it's sometimes they're so easy to spot that it makes me wonder why the platform itself can't spot them as easily. Like there are a lot of key factors when you look at a new follower and you see that it's things from the same 2 or 3 categories, the same 2 or 3 topics that are always in the profile. All of the posts are about certain topics, and it's like, okay, this is a bot.
They're all trigger. Yeah, they're all trigger topics. You'll see the bio, and honestly, I want you to ask yourself, who the hell self-identifies like this? It'll be like, proud, independent mama, Democrat loving, voting, who's raising 4 socialists who love, and you're like, no one self-identifies that way. You would say like, hey, I love birding and I love NASCAR. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're like, no one self-identifies that. I mean, people do, I know it, but you and I both know, like, think about it for a second. It's a botnet is what it is. And they're slowly building it in preparation for the midterms. But, But so far, though, it has the core message that I want to get is that even though I see the bots starting to appear on the network, and granted, I'm sure state-funded systems are trying to figure out how to use it on Bluesky. Thus far, they have not impacted my ability to reach my readers' ability to get my stuff, and my readers and I ability to block out the botnets. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Which is about all I can ask for so far. You know.
Yeah. That's all. It's just to put a button on that topic. It's all the more reason to do something else we talked about in 2025, which is the Comic Lab Social Media Challenge, where we suggested taking that stuff off of your phone, and using social media as an outward messaging system and limiting the amount of time that you're actually taking stuff from social media and putting it into your head.
Right.
That's been something that we banged the drum on a lot, especially towards the middle of 2025. And we'll be talking about it again, like Dave says, in 2026, since we've got an election cycle in the United States coming up, it's going to get hairy again. And by God, I'm telling you, I can't suggest strongly enough taking that stuff off your phone.
First of all, I had forgotten that this was the year that we did the social media challenge. So far, I'm still kind of winning the social media challenge, Brad, and so I thank you for that. It's been great for my mental health. So I want to reemphasize that to everybody, to take those apps off your phone. They're not doing you a lot of good in terms of your mental health. And I will say specifically for Bluesky in a way that I never did before, but just in friendship, I will share with you that this year, because I knew it was going to be a hairy year for me mentally, I went ahead and put like 100 mute words into my Bluesky account, which I never previously have done with social media. Even stuff that I care about, like stuff that I'm like, yeah, I believe in this and I want to fight for this. I was like, I don't want Bluesky to be one more place where I have to see, and I want it to be an escape. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that was my personal strategy, you know?
Yes.
So like when I go to NewYorkTimes.com or when I go to, I don't know, The Economist or Washington Post, that's when I want to dive into that. But when I want to go away from it on Bluesky, the 100 muted words or so, and it's all sorts of stuff, have been really helpful.
Yeah. No, and I'll back that up with what I do. I don't bother muting words, but if I see somebody putting something on my feed that I just do not want to see, I just unfollow them. It's as simple as that. If I follow somebody because they're a photographer and I want to see beautiful photography, fantastic. The minute I see that one guy's face on my feed and he put it on my feed, out. I got lots of places I can find out about that stuff. I don't want it here. You know what I mean? And I don't want to hear it.
Say this, though, that one of the reasons why I've leaned towards muted words this time around versus how I handled it on Twitter, which was what you're describing, is that I would end up muting friends or accounts or unfollowing people that I truly loved just because I didn't want to hear more politics from them. But what I found was that I missed key moments in their creativity or their projects, or that because I had used what's the word? I'd used like a bazooka when I should have used a
scalpel.
A scalpel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so for me, muted words lets me keep following Joe Schmo, who I love, even though Joe Schmo in 1 out of 100 tweets goes political. You know what I mean? Like to me, it was a better solution. But anyway, it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. Brad and my solutions both can work for you for your mental health as you use Bluesky. So
it's just knowing that you do have that option. You know, like the muted words or whatever. At the end of the day, it falls under self-care. And I'll argue this because I know the pushback on that is always, well, that's privilege. You're using your privilege saying that you don't want to hear that. I'm also using common sense because I know there's an awful lot of times somebody sends something out and it's either inaccurate or it's completely wrong. And I would like to get my news, and it's getting harder and harder to do. I'd like to get my news from places that can verify the accuracy of what they're doing. And also, that means I'm not going to click on that fucking social media thing that you're putting out there because I don't know where that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like that. I don't know if you saw last week or 2 weeks ago, the head of Facebook's AI program, who's ostensibly one of the best in terms of expert level ability to spot AI. He retweeted, or I don't remember what the phrase was for Instagrams. He retweeted AI slop thinking that it was real. He did, the head of Facebook's AI program. So it's like, we all collectively have to acknowledge that we've got to be more careful about this. But anyway, it's also like, just to finish this point, it's the well-being and self-care that you're giving yourself in social media is important because it's like an airplane emergency. You've got to put your own mask on first before you can help the wider world. So you've got to make sure that your heart is in a good place and that you're not constantly riddled with anxiety in order to better help the world and in order to better help your cartooning help the world. So, but Brad, before we move on from social media, you had another prediction about social media in 2025.
I did. I predicted that Substack was going to gain prominence and rise to Kickstarter/Patreon levels. And that was absolutely proven true. In fact, the Washington Post reported midpoint of the year that Substack actually surpassed Patreon in the number of registered users, not creators, but people who were registered to use Substack as a audience member and receive newsletters and things of this nature. They surpassed Patreon's a number of registered user. I don't think they surpassed Kickstarter. I think Kickstarter still has a big edge on that. And actually, when I went to try to see how close I got, Substack 20 million monthly users, Patreon 10 million monthly users. Interesting to note that Substack was launched in 2017. Patreon was launched quite a few years earlier than that. So they surpassed them and in a much shorter period of time. But Kickstarter doesn't have monthly users. Kickstarter has registered users, but not monthly users. So doing an apples to apples comparison got a little bit dicey.
Yes. Because Kickstarter is more users that can be activated when needed versus consistent users.
Right.
But to Brad's point, and it's always important to call ourselves out when we are wrong. And I was wrong about the concept of free users on Patreon. And I just wanted, because it's important for us to be honest when we get it wrong. And it turns out that Substack's model of opening up as free first, and then you can subscribe and pay down the line if you'd like, is a winning model, and is so winning that they're outstripping Patreon's growth by leaps and bounds in much shorter years. And also, Patreon has adopted the same model now, so it clearly works. I was clearly wrong. And if you remember, gang, if you go back into the shows, I was originally deleting free users from Patreon. Do you remember that, Brad, when they first started to implement that program?
Yes, I do.
I was so pissy about it and small and did not see the bigger picture. And sometimes, gang, you can lead a horse to water. It just takes forever for them to drink it. And that was the case with Dave Kellett and free users. So, but anyway, Brad was right about that prediction. Substack is still growing despite its problems. It is still growing. And I don't know that it's going to fall off the map anytime soon is, I think, the button on that.
Yeah, it's there. It's going to be there for a while. We have talked about Substack's drawbacks in Pro Tips. I think it was Pro Tips number 400. And there are some very serious drawbacks you need to know about if you're going to go onto Substack. But it's you're going to hear this again coming up pretty soon. It's not going anywhere. And with that number of registered users, it's something that has got to be at least under consideration for people trying to reach an audience.
Absolutely. So my next prediction was, and this is we can kind of gloss over this one because it's kind of similar to my first prediction. I said we will all be playing reactionary whack-a-mole decision-making with our life decisions and career decisions in the first 2 years of the Trump administration. And so far in year number one, that's been true for old Dave Kellett. And I think we're 300 days out until the midterms, and I think that will still prove true.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I think we're going to be playing whack-a-mole for a good long time for the foreseeable future. Because again, even though like we just got done talking about that tariff situation at the top of the show. When it comes time to do my first quarter Kickstarter next year, I'm still going to be watching that stuff very, very closely because it could change on a dime.
Yes.
And all this stuff that traditionally you've had some time to prep for it. You've been able to see it on the horizon. These days, it's just changing immediately. And so you can't go into that as a business prospect without covering your behind. And so I guarantee you my next Kickstarter is also going to have money set aside in the original Kickstarter goal to cover a surprise tariff.
That's right.
You just got it. I don't see how you can do this any other way.
No. And moving it along with a similar theme in terms of playing whack-a-mole, Brad has his next prediction, which was about AI and our whack-a-mole reactions to AI. So Brad, what was that one?
I said earlier that you're going to hear a theme of it ain't going away, right? When I talked about Substack, same thing. That was my prediction for AI. My prediction, and by the way, let's to make it really, really clear, I was not saying that this was a good thing. I just said that this is what I saw happening. I said AI was going to go mainstream and start to gain acceptance among artists and writers. That has not happened openly. At this point, you don't see anybody out there saying, my gosh, I used AI as a writing assistant and I'm loving it. You don't see anybody saying outwardly that they're using AI tools for drawing. However, I do think that there's a lot of people who are using it quietly and not talking about it. But as far as my prediction about acceptance, I was wrong about that. I will say this. Photoshop came out with an AI tool that is, you just put the word remove into that AI generator pop-up that comes up. And if you've got to take a word balloon out of a panel, and because you want to use that panel for like a promotional thing, you want the word balloon out, but you're going to strip some words into that. And you just want to, if you're like me, my work process, that's all one flat image by the time it gets colored. You can circle that word balloon, type in remove, hit a button. Not only does it remove it, it puts that background in there 9 chances out of 10 perfectly, completes any of the borders that were overlapped with the word balloon, something that would have taken me a long time to do crummy work at is a push of a button, and it's an AI tool. All right. And I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't going to not use that tool. That's an amazing tool. But there's going to be a lot of people like that are that's one example. I'm the only person dumb enough to say it out loud that I use that. But I know that a lot of people are using it very quietly and don't talk about it, but they're using that tool.
Yeah, I think that's true, Brad. And I think the user base for AI, the paying user base for AI, while not yet bringing AI into the realm of profitability, because these are amazingly expensive things to start and to fund and to build these data centers. The user base itself, though, is giving lie to the fact that no one is using this. So it seems to me emotionally, and I've said this before on the show, everyone will make their peace with AI in a way that somehow works for them. And for a lot of people, that is this. This is the way they will justify it. Yeah. Well, it's fine if I use it for my accounting questions, but I'm not going to use it for my art. Or it's fine if I use it to ask a quick medical question, but I'm not going to use it for my art. Or, you know what I mean? They'll do everything except for, and then there will be the absolutists. I'm sure that is the case. Mm-hmm. But it seems to be that people are finding uses for it in their own ways. Again, Brad and I are not saying that it's good. We're just saying that this is here and it's staying around. Yeah. It's going to be a new truth in our society in the way that the internet was a new truth in our society. Yeah. But I do think a crash is coming, but I don't think it's going to be a ruinous crash that will get rid of AI. I think it'll be the equivalent of what pets.com was. It'll be a .com crash that clears out all the cruft, and there'll be 3 or 4 companies that'll still be making AI and products that we'll use. But we won't have 20 AI companies. Not that there's 20 now, but there's a lot more than you think there are you only tend to hear about OpenAI or, a Grok or this or Gemini. But there are many, other ones. There will be 2 or 3 or 4 survivors after a .com crash, probably this year, towards the second half.
Yeah.
And once that crash goes away after a 3 or 4 year cycle, we'll have a more stable period, as we did after the .com crash, which was also speculative investing in the new internet. I don't you think, Brad, it's almost the same pattern.
Yes. Yeah. That's the better parallel to draw than the other parallel that I see people drawing between AI and NFTs.
It's not going to die like NFTs. No.
The reason NFTs died was because at the end of the day, there was no economic underpinning value to what you were buying. It did not follow any real economic laws of value, of supply and demand, none of that. At the end of the day, you were buying a receipt. You were buying something that could easily be duplicated. There was no ownership. You were buying a receipt. The economics behind it just didn't add up. And so NFTs are all but dead. I don't know last time I heard anybody seriously talking about NFTs out there.
Thank God.
But to draw a parallel between that and AI, I think is faulty. Drawing a parallel between AI and the .com bubble, I think holds a lot more water.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a doctor's appointment yesterday. I'm sure other people have had this too. And my doctor goes, do you mind if I turn on AI to listen to our conversation so that it can transcribe for my notes? And I, being the son of a doctor, I was like, oh, does it save you time? And my doctor, she goes, oh, it saves me hours at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I only have to, I read through it. I correct a few things here and there, but it's like having another nurse in the room with me. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, then fine, turn it on. And I can see other people for privacy reasons saying no. But what I'm saying is that doctor's not going to not use that even after a crash for AI. I mean, if it's saving them hours a day, they're not going to not use it. So it's already penetrated our society.
Absolutely. Dave, you had a prediction that I think is pretty interesting, and I think I'll foreshadow it. I think you knocked it out of the park. You said that Kickstarter and Patreon are going to continue as market leaders over the next 12 months, and I think that was pretty well held up over 2025.
You know what? I will say yes, but with a caveat that I kind of feel in this, I'm saying this even as a non-Substack user, I kind of feel that Substack is going to eat Patreon's lunch going forward.
Patreon is definitely scared of them.
I mean, they're doing a different thing than what Patreon does. We can both admit that. We can point out specific forms of art for whom Patreon works better than Substack, right?
Yeah.
But in general, Substack seems to be growing, and it seems to be on a business path and a glide plane that is just stronger than Patreon's right now. So unless Patreon very quickly starts to implement some of these Substack features, and I think in their own half-assed way they're trying, I think Substack is going to eat their lunch. So I will say, yes, my prediction was true. For the past 12 months, Kickstarter and Patreon have stayed market leaders. Yeah. I think the caveat there, though, that Substack is coming on strong and will very soon, if they've not already, pass Patreon.
Yeah, and I think that's the veracity of that holds up because you can see Patreon is definitely scared of Substack. Patreon released functionality that lets you use Patreon as a newsletter. That's a direct response to Substack. They've upped their game on discoverability. They've been trying to follow Substack's lead on an internal social media network. They call theirs Quips. Substack has notes. You can see they're watching Substack very clearly. And that's all that, by the way. I'm not putting Patreon down for that. In fact, I think it's a very smart thing for them to do. It's led to a whole lot of tools on Patreon now that I use and I'm very happy with. But it's definitely a result of them fearing the competition.
And I will just co-sign what Brad just said. This is what we want as creators. We want competition to spur new features and to spur people doing better. I will say, and I love Patreon, they a little bit got complacent about, that was a Brad Geiger lean-in, by the way. They a little bit got complacent. I got to tell you, I love the Brad Geiger lean-ins now with the hand. And now when I catch myself doing it, I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing a Brad.
I noticed that before you did it. I was going to point it out. Yeah.
But anyway, so Brad's next prediction, I'm going to read it back to him and get his reaction here. So Brad said with publishing, and I don't think this was an unfair prediction at the time because we were not familiar with book treaties as opposed to other tariff treaties.
Yeah.
Brad said, you're going to see publishing writ large take a huge contraction. And his funny line was, from Random House to the Geiger House, you'll see it all contract due to tariffs. Yeah. Brad, how do you think that stood up over the course of the year?
I don't think that there was a noticeable contraction that we could chart. I think you'd have to really go deep in the weeds to compare, like traditional corporate publishing in 2025 to the year before. And I don't know that's going to show you a whole lot. What I will say anecdotally is when I put out quotes to printers for my book runs, and my book runs were much smaller than what Random House is doing, I talked to printers who were bending over backwards to get my business.
Yes. God, yes, that was true. Yes.
They were very eager to talk business. They were sending a lot of follow-up emails. There was a lot of attention to this matter, and which was worked out just fine for me. So anecdotally, I think that was evidence that they were feeling the pinch.
Yeah, it's what's that scientific phrase? Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, or whatever.
Right.
But I will say this, though, Brad, is that we will never know what we didn't get because of this first 6 months of fear. Do you know what I mean? Like, the absence of a book is impossible to point to because you're like, well, it's just not here. We didn't, Yeah. So I still agree with Brad because based on how excited my printers were when I emailed them for a quote, I knew just like intuitively that they're not getting a lot of quote requests right now. They were so excited and the responses were so quick, and it was like very complete quotes within a day. And you're like, well, all right, geez Louise. I will say that I think Brad was right. That even though we did have somewhat of a snapback in the last 6 months of the year, I do think there was a pullback in the first 6 months of the year for all of us, especially smaller folks who did not have legal counsel that we could turn to and say, hey, are books going to be covered or not covered under these tariff treaties? And so maybe Random House and Doubleday and Penguin and all those folks, they could turn to their legal counsel and go like, well, are we going to be hit by this? No, we're not. Okay, we're fine. We're going to keep going. Yeah. Whereas I think a lot of smaller folks, everybody from mid-sized publishers on down, didn't necessarily have clarity in those first 6 months and probably delayed some projects because of that.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that was the case. I can't prove it, but like we're saying, anecdotally, that feels pretty true. So, Dave, you actually ended out the show with 3 more predictions. And the first one, as long as we're talking books, had to do about young adult, middle grade graphic novels and kids' books.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I think that has remained the big winner in publishing for cartoonists, don't you think? So I don't think we need to talk about that at length, but it just seems to be the case that, boy, that is the one super winning play. Yeah, and not everybody's a winner. Not everybody's buying their third house or their gold car with their YA publishing. I'm not making that claim. I'm just saying that it is the one area where people are still getting solid, offers, and where their books are getting made and where they're getting out to a audience and being bought. And there are some for whom there are tremendous winners in that market. So I think that prediction was a fairly safe one and was an easy one to do. The next one that I was more of a prediction of curiosity than a prediction of, I feel strongly about this. And that was, Brad, that webtoons might begin to fall apart in the U.S. market. And the reason I was saying that was that webtoons' basic business model is predicated on taking the IP from webtoons,
Yeah.
which doesn't make a lot of profit. That's my Brad Geiger leaning. And then spinning out that IP into video games, TVs, and movies, right? Where there could be a lot of money. And I know that Webtoons is having trouble bringing their stuff to Hollywood and getting it made. Yeah. Because it's trickier to sell graphic novels to Hollywood. I just know that for a fact. And also, right now, Hollywood is absolutely shitting the bed and going through a 50-year business change. And I know that personally. Entire studios are about to get bought out or sold or bankrupt. And because they killed the golden goose that was television, and streaming is not making anybody except for Netflix money. And so it is, it's a huge time of contraction. Yeah. I know a lot of writers that are literally moving back to the towns they grew up in because they can't afford to live in LA anymore because there's no work. So yeah, it's a bad time for Hollywood right now. So, but I'm going to kind of put a pin in this prediction for 2026 and into 2027 that I don't know that Webtoons is going to keep going strong. It might be that their corporate financiers might be like from Korea might be like, yeah, it's still worth pouring money into, but it would be more of a venture capital situation for Webtoons rather than a we're actively making money kind of situation for Webtoons. Does that make sense? You know?
I agree. I think that makes perfect sense. And if you are a creator who is pinning their hopes for success on Webtoons, you have to listen to that and take into account everything that Dave just said and tell yourself that means that you as a creator are probably not going to get a great sense of financial security over any amount of success that you're going to get on Webtoons, right? If that's the case, everything you just got done saying, there's not enough money for the creator in all of that. They're going to buy you for pennies, talk you into a bad contract that they're counting on you not signing, and then
not reading,
right, or for not reading. You're exactly right. And then taking that they keep their costs low and try to maximize their profit on it with an animated series that you don't profit from. There's just all the writing is on the wall for that. You've got to go into that whole thing with your eyes open.
Right. I will say that long time advice that Brad and I have said, and this is just the last thing I'll say about Webtoons, long time advice that Brad and I have said consistently on this show now for 7 years is own and control your own career. It can't be an accident that the majority of the survivors that Brad and I have seen over 25 years of making webcomics have been the folks that have owned and controlled their own career. That can't be an accident. There are exceptions to that rule, but the vast majority of them have owned and controlled their own career. So just keep that advice in mind as you consider your Webtoons contract.
That doesn't change. It doesn't change.
So anyway, just to finish off my last prediction for 2025, I said at the time, Brad, I predict that I'm going to either have to raise prices or lower features in my books.
Interesting. I remember that conversation.
And I'm happy to say that I think because A, tariffs didn't hit books, and B, I think specifically because they were not getting a lot of quote requests, printers I feel like were bending over backwards to keep their prices low. So I was able to keep my book pretty high quality. In fact, I don't think I changed a thing from what I wanted to do. And the prices were the same. So thankfully, that was a prediction that fell through. Don't you think, Brad? I mean, what about for your book?
I don't think, 100% the same. I don't think I've ever been so happy to hear one of us miss a prediction.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah. I think that was a happily missed prediction. So Dave, going from something that we were happily to miss, let's talk about something that we were happy to add to our lives this year.
Okay.
And that was a sponsorship by our good friends at Huion, who is sponsoring today's show and the next several. Go to the show notes and you'll see a bunch of links to the Huion 22 Plus, the Huion Canvas 13, that's the third generation, and a little something that I really want to talk about today, the Huion Note.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Dave and I both have one of these, and we've been using it over the past few weeks. And as much as I like it for a brainstorming tool, it's something that I also think for those of you looking for gifts for people, this is something in today's sponsorship that I'm going to suggest not only maybe considering for yourself, but this is an excellent gift idea.
Well, let me describe what it is, Brad. So you get it, and it's kind of a leather-bound little slim notebook that has a pen built into it and has paper inside, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, this is just a notebook.
Yeah.
But what's really clever about it is you're on a train, you're at home, you're on a plane, you're on a bus, you're at the library, you're at a coffee shop, and you either want to sketch out some ideas or you want to do some scripting. Well, here's where this little thing comes in so handy. You're writing into your notepad here, or you're sketching or you're thumbnailing. It's also digitally capturing that, and it's digitally capturing it as a step-by-step in-time process.
Yeah.
That's also, if you wanted to, capturing your audio notes to yourself while you're drawing. It's really cool. It's like, this is a handy little thing, my dude.
It's got an excellent price point, which is why if you've got a college-aged person on your list, I'm saying this is an excellent gift idea. But for artists as well, it's a really good brainstorming tool. Like Dave said, as you're writing in ink on the paper, it's hooked up to your phone through Bluetooth and is capturing a time-lapse video of your drawing process. You can record audio. So for that college student in class taking notes, they can also be recording the professor. And you can, because it's paired with your camera, you can take a photograph and then put it in the digital version of the notes that you're taking in ink. So you can leave a little space, and I've done this, leave a little space on that piece of paper. And so, and then go in and write a note. Like, let's say, you've got a picture of a brain. You're in biology class, and the professor's got a slide of the brain up there. You take a picture of that brain, you put it in there, and then you take notes, drawing arrows in to the different things that you're talking about. And you can really do some amazing note taking on a number of different levels.
That's super cool. I haven't tried that yet. That's really neat.
This thing does a lot of stuff. And even like those audio notes, it will play the audio at the point of the line that you were drawing when that audio was taken. So like, I haven't tried this yet, but I was reading through it. You can like tap on the line and it'll play the audio from that section of the drawing.
Yeah, that's real neat. Neat.
It's just an amazing
I'll tell you 100%
tool.
A thing that Dave Kellett's process benefits from this. I will very often, because, and people, longtime listeners of the show will know this, I struggle with my starships the most in Drive. Starships for me, anything architectural is hard for me. It's not natural for me to draw. So I really have to slow down and do a lot of theoretical sketching. But what I tend to do, Brad, is on a big sheet of paper, I'll have, 10 spaceships drawn from slightly different angles, quick sketches. And then there'll be one where I'll spark on it. I'll be like, oh, that's the one, that's it. And I don't want to recreate that sketch. So I'll hover my phone over my sketchbook, take the photo, airdrop it to my computer, bring it into Photoshop. And this immediately ameliorates that whole 9-step process.
Yeah.
I have sketched it on paper. It's been caught digitally. I can lasso that little image, bring it into Photoshop, bada bing, bada boom. I'm done in seconds. You know what I mean?
And you don't have to worry about getting your camera straight either. I always get the camera skewed and I bring in that sketch and it's all whopper jawed and tilted. And it's just, it never works for me.
I always say, I don't want it whopper jawed. That's the exact phrase
no
that I say to myself.
jawing.
I don't. So anyway, the Huion Note has proven itself to be a really cool ideation, sketching, and idea capturing tool in a way that I didn't even know that this was possible, that this could be done. And I'm super charmed by it. I really am.
And before we wind down, we've only told you about half of it, because the other half is that it's got a plastic device in there that you glue into. It's got adhesive on one side. So you put it into the inside of your the little leather folder they give you. And then you pair it with your computer, your laptop, for example. Or
if you're Android with your phone, which is amazing.
Yes. And you take out the ink nib, you put in a plastic nib, and it becomes a pen tablet. So you're drawing on this folder that it comes with the Huion Note. You draw on the plastic, and it transmits that directly up to your computer screen. And it's got excellent pen pressure, excellent responsiveness. You can end up using this as a pen tablet as well for your computer.
Absolutely. So to wrap up, gang, between now and the end of the year, you don't want to go longer than that. Between now and the end of the year, Huion has given us special prices on the Canvas 22 Plus, on the Canvas 13, which is the third generation, and what we talked about today, the Huion Note. And don't forget at checkout to use the word Comic Lab for a little extra something from Brad Geiger.
A little extra something.
A little extra something. And if you don't have access to the show notes, you can go to comiclabshop.com. That'll bring you over there. Or the 3 links for the discounted products are at the show notes that Brad will provide for you with the podcast. Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
So now, Dave, let's talk about the goals that we set for 2025. The predictions, I'm going to say we did really well on our predictions. How do you think we did on our goals?
I like how you're like, we did well on our predictions because our predictions were all basically hair on fire. We're all like, oh God, the world's going to end. And guess what?
Even when we didn't get the predictions right, we were thrilled that we didn't get them right.
We were still excited about it. So one of the things that I really enjoyed about Brad's first goal for the year, his first personal goal was, his goal was to just survive in 25.
Yeah.
And he had said, like, it would almost be counterproductive for him to make goals for the year. And it's like writing, I think you specifically said it was like writing your goals in sand while at the shoreline. Like, it's just going to come in. It's just going to come in and the waves are just going to wipe it away. So how did you feel about that goal for the year, Brad? And at the end of the year, looking back?
I'm thrilled to say that I did survive. And in fact, I'll just give you a little tip for our next episode when we're talking about predictions and goals for 2026. My goal for 2026 is to thrive. In fact, in other words,
you go. He's going from surviving to thriving, gang. Where is Susan McTaggart when we need her?
Maybe 2025 also brought us Susan McTaggart. Maybe she got to me, but like, I'm actually excited about the stuff I've got planned for 2025. Or 2026. Last year, I really was trying to hang on. In 2026, I've got a feeling I'm going to be putting my foot on the gas, and I've got really exciting things planned for next year. So I was happy to survive in 2025. I'm going to be really happy to start 2026.
Listen, in Susan McTaggart vein, you're going to go from surviving to thriving to driving your future, Brad. That's what you're going to be doing.
Right.
That's what you're going to be doing. I'm really happy to hear that. That little, I need every inch of positivity I can get these days, and so that's fantastic. I mean, I also wrote down for 2025 that my goal was to survive. I also survived. And just to put things in context, one of the reasons why Brad and I continually submit for the Eisner Awards, the Reuben Awards. We put our names out for the Hugo Award, that kind of stuff. Is because, yes, we would love an award, but we have said on this show that the greatest award you can receive in cartooning is surviving another year and being a cartoonist for another year. And so far, we've had about 25 years where we could say that. And God willing, I hope we have 25 more.
Yeah.
But these are the years that you go, hey, I did it. Hey, I survived.
I made it all the way to the end.
Made another year. I was able to make payroll for Beth and I, and hooray, I did it. All right, great. So my one goal for the year, this was the big one, and we did it well, was I wanted to run a Kickstarter for my Anatomy of Dog books, and I can just check that one off the list. We did it. We landed that plane. The book came out beautifully, actually. It's one of my favorite books we've ever done. It's really nice, and got a lot of nice words said about it, and so I was very happy that goal was achieved, Brad. How about your next one?
That was an excellent one. Mine was a Kickstarter in the first part of the year. I didn't do that, but I did get that in the last part of the year. I was worried about the risks of doing an NSFW book because of Project 2025. Those worries have not gone away. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that happened in 2025, particularly around MasterCard, really cracking down on not safe for work stuff around Itch.io. And also, you're seeing a lot of stuff happening with Stripe and PayPal following those same sorts of things. So it's something that's still out there in terms of being something that I'm very worried about. However, I did get this one out. It's on a truck this week heading to the studio. So I did squeak that in right under the a wire for 2025.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I'd say I absolutely hit that goal.
Well, I'm going to combine our next two goals as a talking point. So I made one of my goals for the year that I'm going to triple down on Bluesky in the next couple of years. I'm going to focus on it. I'm going to build it out. And Brad co-signed that too. He's like, yes, I'm also going to do that. And then Brad had a goal for 2025 that I incorporated into my workflow, which was he was going to use and pay for and implement buffer.com. Right. And I think the 1-2 punch of Bluesky and Buffer, Brad, for both of us as 25 goals were not only met, they worked out perfectly for everything we hoped for them, right?
Absolutely. I could see that in my Kickstarter analytics at the end of that Kickstarter, where I could see that Buffer was able to show me that Bluesky definitely had something there for a return on investment. It had a good ROI. And a lot of that came through using Buffer as a scheduler. I'm able to, at this point, do my entire week's worth of social media on Saturday morning before the rest of the house wakes up. I brew a pot of coffee, sit there, get a whole bunch of things out, and a lot of stuff that I'm doing because I'm using Buffer is like engagement outreach that I'm doing. Like I'm doing some affirmations for cartoonists, right?
I appreciate those a lot. Yeah.
It's really silly stuff. But the reason I do it is because people engage with that stuff way more than they engage with here's a comic. So my thought has been for the second part of 2025, come for those affirmations, stay for the comic. I get you in the door with that stuff, and then you get to see the rest of what I do. And so far, it's been working out marvelously. I cannot recommend a social media scheduler strongly enough. I especially now that we're in, like, we talked about all this before, but I was never big on it under the legacy social media because I always had a little bit of a sense that like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram were throttling those. Mm-hmm. I don't get that sense as much with Bluesky, at least at this point in time. So this is the time to really get a scheduler going, make all of that stuff easy. And then it makes it so much easier, not for nothing, just between you and me, for me to tune out social media through the week and just to look every now and again, see if there's something I need to respond to, a friendly comment here, a little something there, and do a little bit of curation while I'm there, and then right back to work. The scheduler has been a big plus for me in 2025.
I agreed. I cannot thank Brad enough for the buffer.com suggestion in 2025. Beth and I have implemented it and love it. And I can't see any reason why we would step away from it anytime soon. Oh, boy, has that been a great part of our process. Okay, so my next goal for the year in 2025, after about a half year to a year of planning, my goal was to launch Wrong Way as a YouTube show with my dear, dear friends, Kevin McShane and Brad Guigar. And we did it. After a year of planning, we finally got it launched. We now have 7 episodes in the can. I will say, just in the interest of transparency, it's been harder than we thought for 3 of us to find the time to, because it's, for those not familiar with video just takes longer, exponentially longer to produce, edit, prep, and get up online than anything you do individually with pen and ink. It's just a longer process to do. And so our schedules have not been able to crank out the 12 that we wanted in the 12 months. We got 7 out in 12 months. But we're gonna see how it's doing after the 12th episode, and I will tell you all, with love in my heart, God, if there's one thing that brings me joy, it is Wrong Way. I love that show so much. I love recording it with Brad and Kevin. It is so fun. I think they cut together really lovely. Do go check it out over at Wrong Way Show. But Brad, how do you feel after launching? We finally got it launched this year.
I'm super. It was one of the funnest things I did in 2025. It was a huge source of happiness for me, and I'm really proud of the shows that we did. I can't wait for an opportunity to do a few more. Along those lines, talking about things that we launched, I'll just let that lead right into my next goal for 2025, which was to build Spice Rack Comics into an example of what a loosely built comic collective can do. And remember, Spice Rack was basically just a web ring. It was the defining trait of Spice Rack was that every member had to put the Spice Rack promo box on their website, meant that they needed to have a website, and that everybody got a week in the box on a rotating basis. Right. And that was another one where my Kickstarter analytics showed me that it had a little bit of a heartbeat there. It was not quite as effective as what I wanted, but it had something there enough that obviously I'm going to continue. Yeah. And actually, not for nothing, if you go back a few shows to where we were talking about referral tags and UTM links and using Shortio for tracking, it was my week in the promo box last week, and I can see that those links are actually getting clicked. Not only can I see, it's been interesting, not only can I see it's getting clicked, I can see which sites are really big performers for me, like which of the members' sites sent me the most traffic.
Oh, really? That's great. You know why that's great? Because now you can do team ups for Patreon for shorts, for either content swaps or something like that. You know, that
tells me that there was an audience crossover there. That was significant. So I know exactly who to target for crossovers now. And so like that's something we'll talk about next show too, I'm sure, because referral tags are going to be an ongoing thing that I'm obsessed with. But Spice Rack was good. Spice Rack is and it's something. Now my goal was to build it into an example of what a comics collective can do. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing a whole lot of people taking that concept and running with it. But I do think that there's something there that's worth pursuing, especially as social media continues to be as upside down as it is these days. Yeah. It's something that I really am going to continue to encourage people to consider.
Well, I will say, when you started this whole process, I guess about 18 months ago, maybe 24 months ago, I was like, wow, building an NSFW web ring. That's I would not have seen that coming, but good for you.
Yeah.
And I will say, because this will be the first time that I say it publicly, I'm still offended that you haven't invited Sheldon into Spice Rack, but I as a friend, I've tried to internalize it for these last 18 months, I'm not hurt, but no. I'm not hurt, you know, like, so.
Well, there's only one reason for that, Dave, and I think you know what the reason is.
Well, because I would dominate the collective? Is that what it is?
Well, no, it's that we're holding out for Drive.
Oh, yeah.
We want Drive After Dark.
Oh, can you imagine? Oh,
yes,
God, I'm instantly sweating. Oh, my God.
Aren't you glad you brought this topic up?
God. All right, let me move to my next topic. So for 2025, my next goal was, if I got burnt on that first book kickstarting in 2025, which was Anatomy of Dogs, and if you remember, Brad, I wasn't sure. I was not at all sure how it was going to go, if I was going to get nailed on tariffs at like a 25% rate, something like that.
Yeah.
So I made the goal that if I got burnt on this first book in Kickstarter in 2025, I would switch going ahead to smaller quick starters that were more nimble and more financially manageable and could be sourced from varying places that might or might not get tariffs or tariffs at a price that was manageable. Thankfully, gang, this is a goal that did not need to get implemented because the book did fine. The tariffs did not hit the book. In general, using Bluesky and existing social media and my existing reader base, the Kickstarter did great. And so we can move on quick from that goal. Didn't have to use the backup goal, basically.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. Let's see. My next goal was KDP. And particularly that I was
Kindle Direct Publishing.
Yeah, you were pulling back. I was going to lean in specifically for Evil Inc. After Dark. I did get Evil Inc. After Dark Volume 1 set up on KDP, and I was watching that very closely. And but I the profit margin is just so darn low on that it just wasn't worth the amount of time that I was putting into it. And especially when I compared it to something like drivethrugcomics.com, which is an amazing performer for me for that content. And so I got to be honest, every time my schedule was opening up and it was time to put volume 2 up on KDP, I literally was like, there's so many better uses of my time and in fact, a lot of times I'm like, I could put it up on KDP, or I could sit down for the next couple hours and assemble a new ebook or e-comic and put it up on DriveThruComic and make money. And that's what I ended up doing. It was so much a better use of my time than Kindle Direct Publishing that I completely turned away from that goal. It's something that I still might dabble with because, of course, I'm always experimenting. You're right. Nothing's ever done, right? That volume 2 might go up. But holy cats, I have such better money return on investment, better revenue using drivethrugcomics.com than I do on Amazon. So it's almost hard to convince myself to spend the time on it.
I will say this. You have continually said nothing but praise for DriveThruComics, such that I might need to make that a goal for 2026 is to bring Drive, especially, and probably also Sheldon, to DriveThruComics. Because it's not a heavy lift. You know what I mean? Once the ebooks are made, there might be some formatting things that you have to adjust here or there, but it's not a heavy lift to bring ebooks to a new platform. I really, I'm saying this out loud so I remember to talk to Beth about it. Really got to put that on 2026 on our goals to bring that. Because I will say this, Kindle Direct Publishing made this stupid rule that for 6 months you had to exclusively be on Kindle Direct Publishing when you launched, such that I took my ebooks off of my Shopify page, my own Shopify page, which, by the way, they were selling just fine on Shopify. And I took them off thinking like, oh, Kindle Direct Publishing, that's where the money's at. And boy, when I say pennies on the dollar, I mean micro pennies on the dollar, Kindle Direct Publishing. And so, but again, I want to put in context why Brad and I did Kindle Direct Publishing, because in friendship and in a gift freely given, Andrews McMeel at, I believe it was the Rubens 2 years ago, Brad? The
2
Rubin
years
Weekend,
ago at the Rubens,
the National Cartoonist Society meeting, the editorial staff and marketing staff of Andrews McMeel, in a way that is I'm not throwing them on the bus in any way, shape, or form, because it was true for them that Kindle Direct Publishing was a winner. And I think it was a winner because they had instant network effect. They had Calvin and Hobbes. They had Garfield. They had Peanuts. They had all this stuff that they could instantly throw up so that anytime you bought an Andrews McMeel book, you were recommended one of 20 other Andrews McMeel's book. And so they had an instant network effect. They had scale, which is where KDP also relies on for the money to start working. Brad and I had neither network effect nor built-in links. They are slowly developing the longer we're on KDP. We had neither network effects nor links nor scale. And so we're like, oh, hooray, a check for 15 cents, oh, lovely. That'll change my life. And I'm not joking about that. That's sometimes those are the amounts. And whereas I 100% believe that Andrews McMeel had good returns. I 100% believe that they were in friendship, genuine friendship, trying to pay forward what they knew about KDP. But for Brad and I, it just hasn't returned yet. And yet, my friend Brad Geiger has continuously recommended Drive-Thru Comics. So I think on the next show, I'm going to maybe make Drive-Thru Comics one of my goals for 2026.
And I'm going to make my first prediction of 2026.
Okay.
When you find out how well Drive does on Drive-Thru Comics, because that content is perfect for their audience. When you see how well Drive does on drivetrucomics.com, you're going to be apoplectic over the fact that you didn't do it sooner.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Really? Oh, am I going to be mad? Am I going to be mad?
No, you won't be mad, but you're going to be very happy to see that Drive takes off on Drive-Thru Comics. That's my prediction.
Okay.
It's going to sell very, very well.
So you said I'm not going to be mad, but I'm going to be say that word again?
Apoplectic that you didn't do it sooner.
Okay, so apoplectic means of, resembling, or produced by apoplexy. I love a definition like that because it doesn't give you a goddamn clue as to what the word means. Thanks
Why
a lot,
do they
Webster's.
bother putting that on paper?
I know. So the next definition is having or inclined to have apoplexy. God damn it, give me a definition that works.
These fuckers.
Number 3.
Which dictionary is this? Is this Merriam-Webster?
This is American Heritage Dictionary.
Oh, for
Number
Christ's
3,
sake.
exhibiting symptoms associated with apoplexy. I'm still not helped.
At this point, number 4 should just be fuck off. We're not going to tell you.
Number 4 is, okay, finally we have an answer. Extremely angry or furious. So that's what you're saying I'm going to be. I am going to be angry. Okay.
You notice they put that on number 4 by the time you got to that definition, you were apoplectic?
God, dictionaries. I love that in
dictionaries.
140 years of dictionaries, we still do that to ourselves where we're like, disambiguous, of or related to disambiguousness. And you're like, come on, that doesn't do me a damn lick of good. Anyway, so all right, I'll be apoplectic. I will add that into my goal. Brad, because we're going to run long, I'm going to wrap us up with my final goal that I had for 2025, which was, in the second half of 2025, I had made a goal to launch on Substack. And I will tell you that was not a goal that I achieved.
Yeah.
Here is the truth of it, gang. My wonderful assistant, Beth, reformatted the entire archive of Drive to run on Substack. She scheduled out the entire archive of Drive to run on Substack. And then Substack promoted a Nazi website. And I was like, I can't do this. And so I don't want to say it's wasted work because maybe they will still course correct. I'm trying to give them that opportunity. I'm trying to see where the chips fall. For me, it was just a bridge too far and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't stomach this is fine. I'm going to launch on there.
I know.
And yet it still keeps growing, and there's a bunch of really lovable, wonderful human creators on Substack and a bunch of wonderful, lovable human readers on Substack. So I don't know where this will fall in the long run. Maybe in time I can chalk it up to a corporate mistake.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to be a human in the world trying to do the right thing sometimes is the short version. I don't have all the answers is basically it.
And I don't know that there's a right answer to this, as awful as that is to say, because of course nobody on this show supports Nazis. But then again, on the other hand, other than a few notable exceptions like Bluesky, so far, knock on wood, at every platform you have that has a large user base is going to have a certain contingent of people who are awful.
Oh, yeah. And, Brad often has said it this way, but point to me the company that is morally clean, I get into this argument all the time. Brad, Google, they're a great company. Their whole corporate motto at the launch was for do no evil, right? Or, hey, great. Well, guess what, gang? They also, you could point to this or that supercomputing company that lends computing processing time to the DoD to do nuclear weapons testing and on servers. And you're like, well, great. Oh, that's lovely. Let's talk about the evisceration of the human race. All right, wonderful. Every company has some goddamn moral fault where you're like, if you really dig deep enough, you're like, I can't support this. This is terrible.
There are no heroes in capitalism. You're not going to find a hero in a corporation. For the longest time, we were trying to boycott Amazon, right? And we're like, Don't buy that at Amazon. Buy it at Target. That because they're the good guys. And then guess what? Another surprise from 2025.
Yeah, boy, they
we
shit the
found out
bed.
that Target wasn't the good guys either. Now we're supposed to boycott Target. And
by the way,
I'm
talk about a
I'm
boycott
not saying
that
those
worked.
are bad ideas.
Talk about a boycott that worked, though, Brad. That Target, oh boy, they shit the bed.
They're in trouble.
But Brad's point stands. It stands.
Yeah, and there's no heroes. You're not going to find a hero in a corporation. And as great, I love Bluesky. It's just a matter of time before Bluesky has to cross this same divide and make a decision between growth and making an angelic decision. And I hate to break it to you, they're going to choose growth.
They're going to choose growth. They'll have their Cory Doctorow in shitification moment.
Yes,
and
they
we'll be able to point to it and say, this is where
That's
they started to go downhill.
That it happened.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And so Brad and I, trying to be good, moral people, whose basic goal in our career is to bring joy to people in different forms of storytelling or joke telling or character creation. That's our basic goal. Is we're trying to make the world a little bit better. Just for a moment, when you read our comics, we unfortunately have had shitty bedfellows along the 25 years of our cartooning. Twitter, Google, Dropbox, this, that. Doesn't matter what the company is. Eventually, somebody does something where you're like, I really don't feel great about this. Oh, God.
Yeah. No, and that's something else that is not going to change in 2026. Another prediction I'll make early. We just along the lines of wrapping this up. Obviously, we're going to come back next episode and do our predictions for 2026 and our goals for 2026. But before we go, I want to share with you the final goal that I had in 2025, and that was to up my game, to improve my skills at doing transitions at the end of the show so that I could find. Are you ready?
Damn it, you ready? Brad Guigar. All right.
So that I could seamlessly go into saying that you've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
Your hosts have been my friend Brad Guigar, the editor of webcomics.com, the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com, and the handsome co-host of the new drawing show over at wrongwayshow.com.
And my handsome friend Dave Kellett, the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host of The Wrong Way Show at wrongwayshow.com, along with our good friend, the equally handsome Kevin McShane.
We have become very prolific with the use of handsome. We're just two handsome guys talking about comics handsomely over here at Comic Lab. The Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net. And this episode was edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard, who we give a huge another year-end thank you to, Matt, for all your wonderful work over at Woodsong Productions at www.woodsong.media.
If you love Comic Lab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify. That'd be a great Christmas present for your old comics uncles. If somebody listening to the show right now just put a pause, went over, gave that 5-star review on Spotify, and somewhere an angel gets his wings, it would be amazing. Where we are burning up the podcast charts.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your support on patreon.com/Comic Lab. So we'll go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/Angels Wings.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's Susan McTaggart.
Oh, Bradley John. You're looking wonderful, Bradley. A little trimmer, a little slimmer at the end of 2025 than at the beginning of the year.
Not by much. I've been hitting the Christmas cookies pretty hard, Susan. I got to be honest with you.
Oh, Brad, it doesn't show. Perhaps it's hidden by that handsome little beard you have. That's the handsome little beard. Bradley John, I got word on the street, Brad. A little blue bird of happiness came to me and said you're not only surviving in 2025, Brad, you were thriving in 2025. That's amazing, Bradley. Amazing.
Thank you so much, Susan. And I give a lot of credit to you for who taught me how to thrive in 2025.
Well, Brad, that's why I wanted to come over. I drove down special to the Comic Lab Studios to give you my new book, Tropic for Penguin Random House Studios. Sorry, this is Panorama Publishing. Sorry, I've had some Christmas wine, Brad. Susan McTaggart does enjoy the mulled wine. You ever had mulled wine, Bradley?
Yes, I have seen. I have seen you distinctly mulled from time to time. Yes,
Bradley. What they do is they take the wine and then they mull it. They mull it, Brad, and then it's mulled wine.
Well, listen, I grew up in Michigan. I know a good mullet when I see one.
Oh, that's right, Bradley. Well, you have some on your chin now. That's where the mullet's gone. But Bradley, I brought you my new book from Penguin Random House Publishers, dropping soon, and it's called Surviving? Thriving? No, I'm Driving! The Brad Geiger story for 2026. The new book from Susan McTaggart.
Oh my gosh, and there she goes once again on a wafting cloud of sandalwood and good thoughts. The one, the only, Susan McTaggart.